Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to yet another God of War video, with us less than a month away from Ragnarok's release. I can't believe it's almost here. Today, I wanted to tackle a question that I've been yet to weigh in on, and that is what did ultimately become of the remaining giants of Jotunheim. As we know, or at least most of us know, the Jotunheim have been subjected to what could only be described as extreme suffering and genocide. All of this stemming from Thor's assault in Midgard, isolating them to the likes of their own home, with many other giants being scattered across the 9 realms. So only a few have been fortunate enough to have slipped through his grasp. But with their isolation, many believed that the giants would thrive without the Aesir breathing down their backs. But instead, the exact opposite happened. As once we arrive in the lands of Jotunheim, it is barren, deserted, and dead, being riddled with their bodies scattered far and wide. So naturally, it does raise the question of what exactly happened here? What became of the giants? But before we do begin, as always everyone, before we start, I would super appreciate it if we could first get this video to about 1,000 likes. It's a small and minor thing, but trust me when I say it really does go a long way, supporting not only this video, but this channel out as a whole. And if you like what we do here, please don't forget to subscribe and tick that bell, as I will keep you in the loop of all things Ragnarok related. But before we do start, here is a brief message from today's sponsor, Hero Wars. Hero Wars is an online free-to-play, team-based fantasy action RPG that is playable on both your mobile device as well as desktop. Set in the world of Dominion, it's filled with a variety of colourful characters and adversaries, with over 50 of those characters being playable, and you can learn more about them through the 130 plus mission campaign. But it doesn't quite stop there, as there are plenty of other game modes: the Outlands, the Tower, the Airship, and for you PvP enthusiasts, the Arena and the Grand Arena. But never feel alone as you play, as you can also build and create your own guilds. Personally, I'm actually a pretty big fan of Hero Wars, from its charming and colourful character design that ooze personality, as well as the sheer amount of gameplay variety at your hands. Plus, with regular bonuses and rotations, Hero Wars has a little bit of something for everyone to learn and love. But what exactly is going on? Well, with Halloween around the corner, Hero Wars is currently running a sweepstake event, offering us all huge opportunity and prizes by clicking on my link in the description below, or scanning my QR code and completing the tutorial and creating an account. You have the chance to win one of many different Amazon gift cards they currently do plan on giving away on November the 2nd, but this can only be achieved if we get the link to 10,000 installs before October the 31st. It's one sign up per person, but it's absolutely free to enter for non-registered players. The winners will be displayed on their website on November the 2nd, so sign up now before it's too late. So thank you to Hero Wars for sponsoring this video. And once again, click on the link down below to start playing right now. Now, for us to really touch on this topic, we need to analyze it from a multitude of different angles and work off the information provided with us. It allows us to look at the much bigger picture and see what bits of the jigsaw puzzle actually fit into each other instead of being on top of each other. And with a multitude of different colourful characters at hand, I figured we could cover each of the likely candidates to get an idea of what may have happened to the giants and whether or not they were victim to a slaughter or something far worse. With that said, please do keep in mind, this for the most part will be an analytical video based more so in theory than that of fact. So don't take everything I say here as something that's already written in stone. Think of it as a way to build a different perspective and angle of the entire scenario. Now, to really touch on this topic, let's first have a quick recap of how this disaster unfolded, as it allows us to paint this canvas in the same red that drowned out Midgard. Since the dawn of time, the giants have had an extremely uneasy relationship with that of the Aesir, as their long-lasting blood feud stems all the way back before the formation of the Nine Realms, with it really sparking with the death of the first and great giant, Ymir. This long-lasting rivalry did simmer for a while during Tyr's crusade of peace, with the god of war quelling the tension between the two sides, courtesy of creating the Bifrost Bridge. This unified effort between the realms allowed for the giants to come to trust Tyr, but naturally, this didn't reflect to every other member of his family, as we would quickly see why. With tensions having eased between both sides, they would be approached by the Allfather, having foreseen Ragnarok, and knowing that his hand would fall to that of the giants. Odin would request them to grant him their ability of foresight, something the giants had become infamous for. But the Jotunheim had not fully forgiven Odin, as a large deal of their pain and suffering derives directly from him, and having not taken kindly to having his request denied, the Allfather would send his son, Thor, to the realm of Midgard and have him drench it in seas of giants' blood. Many poor souls fell that day, and Mjolnir became a weapon of legend. The slaughter was so great that the giants would retreat to the realm of Jotunheim or be scattered across that of the Nine Realms, with the Bifrost crystal locked away, and many of the giants being locked and sealed away. The end seemed nigh, as even their guardian, Laufey, aka Faye, had left the realm. But it seems that in between that time where Faye has left, something awful has happened in Jotunheim, as once Kratos and Atreus do arrive, they find the world to be, well, dead, as not even Atreus' heightened senses are able to pick up on any voices or any life throughout the land. So, it does pose the question of, what exactly happened? Well, that's where I come in to fill the gaps. So now, our first and most obvious of the likely candidates is, of course, Thor Odinson. With a long and very bloodied history, Thor has been absolutely no stranger when it's come to shedding the blood of giants, having even added his own mother to that of his kill count and killing other giants for far less than what they deserve. In short, Thor is probably the most infamous killer in this saga's history. But with all of this noted, was it him? Well, honestly, that's extremely hard to say for a number of different reasons, as whilst it absolutely does line up with his MO and very long reputation, one of the really important things surrounding the Jotunheim's isolation is that no god or Aesir has been able to tread across these lands, including the likes of the Allfather himself, as Kratos and Atreus' constant pursuit to enter Jotunheim really gives us an idea of the extents you have to go through in order to unlock that gate. And if they could already reach it, it kind of does undermine the giant's isolation and the extremely long journey that Kratos and Atreus had to go through in order to get to Jotunheim. Whilst Thor really is the perfect candidate, I simply do not think it's possible. In fact, the only recorded time that Thor has set foot in Jotunheim was when his hammer was taken, but even then, he would be brought back home by Freya, and I seriously doubt that the giants would be foolish enough to make that same mistake again. And I feel like this rule applies to Odin, Balder, or any of the other Aesir. So, if it's not them, who else is there? Well, interestingly, I have seen Fae come into the equation for this theory, and up to a certain extent, it does make some sense, especially seeing as they depict her arguing with the giants, and she was, as far as we know, the last person to have seen them alive, having been the most recent person there, as she also marked the mural wall before her passing. But with that said, do I think this is very much so possible? I think the likelihood of this is slim to none, as I feel like it greatly conflicts with her previous characterization. One of Faye's greatest strengths as a character is simply knowing very little of her. It allows her to be painted as more of a hero-like figure. So if this was going to happen, I feel like it would retroactively feel like an unnecessary and contrived soft retcon that kind of tarnishes the character's legacy. And I do wish to reinforce this point. Not every character has to carry the heavy burden that Kratos does. Faye doesn't need to be an equal to Kratos. If anything, her posing as more of a hero-like figure conflicts and contrasts what Atreus can become. So I feel like this would be an unnecessary change, and one that does not better the character. So what other option is there? In my opinion, and honestly, I think it's far simpler than any god or deity. I think that the giants didn't die from some cataclysmic battle that ruptured their world and then cleansed it anew, but I think the giants suffered from a far more painful and lingering death, caused by famine, disease, and starvation. I know it's not quite as bombastically big, but hear me out. From the very moment we enter the realm of Jotunheim, what do we see? We see that it's dry. Its lands are absent of any green, or any life for that matter, as not even Atreus' senses are able to pick up on chatter, noise, or sound. Jotunheim is a dead world. And I think from the barren isolation, from cutting themselves off, they would slowly but surely exhaust their own resources for survival, so their lakes would dry up and their rations would begin to fade. Which again does tie in to why the realm is so dead and so dry. Whilst we don't get the best angles of them here, many of their bodies are left intact. There's no broken bones, so my own thesis about the end of the giants aren't that they were murdered, but they suffered a slow and painful death, where they were quarantined with their own fears and possibly disease. So they would slowly but surely die one by one, knowing that the legacy they left behind would be in the hands of Faye's child, the Avenger of the Giants, Loki. Apologies if this felt like a slightly underwhelming ending, but in a way narratively, with how the current interpretation of God of War works, I think this works much more narratively, because it's so sad. It's not like the giants were able to put up a big fight in the end, because they already lost, and then dealt with the consequences of their isolation. Whilst they died in their own home, they died knowing that they lost, and that the only person that could carry on their will would be Atreus. It is sad and bleak, and honestly, I think this works as kind of a perfect end. With that said, what did you ultimately think is going to become of the giants? Do you think they died of famine and disease? Or do you feel like there's more foul play at hand than what I explored here? Please do comment down below, as I'd love to hear what you have to say as we theorize what's going on, whilst drawing closer and closer to the release date of God of War Ragnarok. But for now everyone, that has been it for me. So as always, stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting as Ragnarok comes for us all. Take care everyone, I'll see you soon.